to do after a hailstorm, and it's important to call your claims adjuster through your insurance company. It's gonna leave pretty substantial holes in the siding. It can look like a shotgun blast. It's gonna lead to more moisture and water intrusion. My name is Larry Nix. I'm an account manager with Scottish Home Improvements here in beautiful, sunny Centennial, Colorado. Usually whenever a home wrapped in vinyl siding has damage from hail, it's pretty obvious. It's gonna leave pretty substantial holes in the siding, especially if it's an older siding that's gotten brittle over time from sun damage, sun fading. It can look like a shotgun blast. It look like somebody has just been shooting the home with a 50 caliber rifle. And so it's pretty obvious, but then there are subtle signs as well. You could maybe have damage to your J channel on your vinyl siding, damage on masonite siding as well, like a manufactured wood siding. It's going to lead to more moisture and water intrusion. If it's a vinyl sided home, it could lead to material rot behind the siding, because oftentimes there's no vapor barrier behind the vinyl siding. Just depends on when and who installed it and what their standards were. It could lead to water intrusion, pest intrusion, and compromise the home. Hail damage on a vinyl sided home could just look like holes in the middle of the siding. It could be isolated to one wall compared to the entire home, because oftentimes hail will fall in a particular direction. I go to houses all the time that incurred some damage that it's literally just one elevation that needs to be replaced, which kind of gets tricky with vinyl siding, because a lot of manufacturers will change the profile every few years, and it's almost impossible to find a matching profile, color, style, texture that you could basically piecemeal the job as opposed to just replacing the entire house. It gets a little bit tricky. It is doable. It just depends on the age of the home, the age of the vinyl siding. But you can see damage from obviously grills being too close to the home whenever somebody's having a cookout and the grill is too close to the vinyl siding, and it will just melt it. And it's pretty identifiable. But you can have mechanical damage from a weed eater or somebody backing a car or a lawnmower into it as well. We see all different types of damage when it comes to vinyl siding, just again, because it can get so brittle and fragile in our climate. The size of the hail that falls during any given storm, anything from pea size up to softball size, that's a pretty catastrophic storm. And it happens frequently in the state of Colorado, especially in the eastern plains. We see damage, even baseball size, sometimes golf ball size hail can damage vinyl siding. It just depends on the age of that siding and how brittle it is or how soft it is, because wood siding it'll get softer over time after incurring just moisture intrusion in the material. It'll get soft to where whenever a golf ball size piece of hail hits it, just right on the right corner of it, it can flake off and disintegrate like the bottom part of a piece of siding. In the state of Colorado, we see anything from like a devastating hailstorm to just maybe a home that incurred some damage, and homeowners are looking at their options of, how do I repair this? Can I repair this? Is repair even an appropriate word, or are we just kind of looking at maybe a full elevation replacement going from corner to corner, as opposed to just putting in different pieces where the damage was? Because then you're going to see some color variation, and sometimes an HOA won't approve that. And it just depends on every situation, every storm. The first thing to do after a hailstorm, and when it's obvious that you've had hail damage, it's important to call your claims adjuster through your insurance company and have them document it as best as they can. Oftentimes we work with homeowners that didn't quite get the full amount for the replacement of the siding, or at least how much we think they deserve. I'm sure homeowners certainly don't think they got as much as they deserve. I think it's imperative to challenge and push back with the insurance companies as much as possible in order to get the most money out of them. that you deserve to replace maybe a full elevation. If it is a newer siding, maybe that product is still manufactured and we can replace single pieces, but it's just a matter of tracking it down. It's time consuming. It's very wise to contact your insurance company immediately after a significantly damaging hailstorm. It is difficult to maybe find older vinyl siding styles that aren't produced anymore, and that could lead to an entire wall replacement as opposed to just pieces of the siding. Ideally, that would be the best case scenario, is that maybe a homeowner does have pieces of siding that you can just replace those damaged pieces. Rarely is that the case in reality, but people call in all the time and ask if we can repair their siding, but it's not an appropriate verbiage just because you can't repair siding unless you're using a Bondo or some kind of filler to plug holes, and it typically doesn't look as good. And unfortunately, it typically leads to a full replacement of a wall if we can match something that's close enough to satisfy the homeowner, satisfy an HOA. I've certainly worked on homes where we have replaced just small sections of siding, meaning maybe just a few walls on the home as opposed to every exterior elevation on a home. We get pretty lucky whenever we can do that, and oftentimes it's just not the case because the colors don't match up. The profile, the size of the siding pieces itself, the profile size doesn't match up to what's on the home, but that's why it's best just to get a site visit scheduled, and gives us an opportunity to try our best to find siding out there that will match. I personally believe there are a lot of great siding contractors in the metro area. I've worked with them. Some things that I would look out for is when they're all in one service, where they'll do your roof, your fence, your car, your siding, your windows. I would prefer to know what they're really good at. I would suggest to suss out if they even have a siding crew that is capable of doing siding replacement, especially on a hail claim, whenever the roof has incurred some damage as well as the siding, and a roofing company comes out. I've gone to so many different homes where immediately after a storm, these companies will roll through a neighborhood, knocking on doors, selling their services, and maybe they can do the roof, and maybe they did get a deposit for the siding scope of their project, but they never really had a siding crew to do the siding. And then the homeowners will reach out to us or other companies as well and say, I signed up with these guys, but they kind of dropped the ball. They never had a siding crew. Now I'm trying to get my deposit back from them. It's a scary story, but it happens every year with every hailstorm that rolls through neighborhoods. I would be weary of the door-to-door guys, especially if they're from out of state. I'd suggest getting maybe a local contractor that has good reviews, that's reputable. The best thing that you can do to protect your home is get an impact-resistant siding. A lot of different companies sell things. Even vinyl siding companies will sell products that say that they're impact-resistant, but obviously maybe like a fiber cement or a company like James Hardie or Allura, even LP SmartSide, which is a composite wood material, it's obviously harder than a vinyl siding. Just think, if you were to take a piece of that siding and smack it with a ball-point hammer, is it just going to go through it? Is it going to crack it? Or is it just going to kind of bounce off? There's lots of new composite materials as well that are made from different materials that are good for impact resistance. In our climate here in Colorado, facing elevations, composite materials can grow and shrink significantly. Even a day like today, where it was very cold in the morning, but then it warmed up to 70 something degrees, whereas the wall of the building will go up to maybe even 80 or 90 degrees. There are lots of different impact resistant sidings, and just whatever your budget matches is going to help you make the best informed decision, and whatever product aligns with that budget will be best for your home and protecting your home. Feel free to reach out to us directly here at scottishhomeimprovements.com. We can get a technician, an account manager, a project manager out to your home to assess your damage as soon as we possibly can, and would love to work with you and make your home the dream home that you've always wanted. So feel free to call today at 303-662-8150.